Welcome back to my channel. Unfortunately, I was not able to do my next video in the month of October for Halloween season, but November is just as good of a month because part 2 of Wicked is coming out in 2 weeks. And what better way to get excited than to take a dive into the Wizard of Oz set that Mezco Living Dead Dolls released called Lost in Oz. So without further ado, let's get into these amazing dolls. So first I want to talk about is the packaging for this set. They all came in a box like this. It says Wizard of Oz, and they have the name of the character on the package. Now, the interesting thing with the Wizard of Oz, if you notice from my previous video with the Wonderland series, is that they removed the Velcro panel, so it's just a straight window box. And unlike the Oz, I'm gonna keep doing that. Unlike the Wonderland series, it was easier to see the design, so I'm gonna actually take out the inside of the box. So all the characters have this in the background, and it's I would say it's the castle to the witch. I don't think it's Emerald City itself. There's a yellow brick road. It's very dreary looking, so it's supposed to be more ominous, more creepy than wondrous. Which again, that's right up Living Dead Dolls vibe. All the dolls were secured in this clamshell here, and they had like wiring to it, but all of them are the same. There is some nice photography of the dolls. Here you have the witch, Dorothy, the lion, the Tin Man, and the scarecrow, and on the side is the wizard. Now, the interesting thing about the packaging, unlike Wonderland, is that they didn't do anything to differentiate which version you have. So they had 3 sets of these Wonderland dolls. The first being the core series, and then you had the variant series in green, and then there was a glow-in-the-dark series, which is basically the core characters, including the witch, and they just glowed in the dark. Same clothes. So nothing was on the package. There was no Mezco Direct. There was nothing. Just what you see is what all the dolls came in. Okay. So the first dolls we're going to talk about is the Lost. Now the Lost, if you're not familiar, this is what the Lost looks like. She is from series 8, which I will go into more detail when I start my series videos. So the Lost is dressed in a gingham style dress. It's not blue and white, it's black and white, and she comes with Toto. Unfortunately, Toto didn't make it upon landing on top of the witch, or maybe the witch did this, or the witch's sister, the Wicked Witch of the West, maybe she did this to poor Toto. But I thought it was really funny that they included Toto, but of course, like this. Now, the Wizard of Oz is interesting in that, unlike Wonderland, the Wizard of Oz has one definitive iconic look, and that's the MGM film, which is heavily copyrighted. So there's a lot of things this set was limited to because of that movie. And so a lot of what's depicted is book accurate. Like, for example, she has silver shoes instead of ruby slippers, because in the book it is silver slippers, which I don't mind. It's movie. That's book accurate. And another famous Oz movie, The Wiz, starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson, also stuck with the original source material. So they also had silver shoes. And I have to admit, with the Lost as Dorothy, great character choice. She looks very similar to her OG doll, but I just felt like I wish there was a little bit more to her. I wish she maybe came with like a little basket. I mean, I know with Wonderland they didn't come with accessories either, with the exception of the white rabbit with the little clock. And yes, she does come with poor dead Toto, but you know, I thought she could have something more to her. And speaking of that, I want to show a doll that very much looked like a possibility of what Dorothy through the Living Dead doll's lens could have looked like. So this is variant blue, Resurrection variant blue, and I'll go into detail of her when I talk about the Resurrection series. But look at this dress. Isn't she beautiful? And even has the colors of the blue and white gingham, which is not copyrighted, because in the book it is blue and white. So they could have done this, but I understand they didn't because they already had this character blue dressed like this, which it's a beautiful dress. And also it's a little bit more mature. It doesn't look like a little girl's dress, but I mean, come on, how cool does she look? This would have been a cool Dorothy, just like Sadie as Alice, the variant, you know, was a great homage to American McGee, a more darker take. This would have been really cool too. I love it. So that's Resurrection variant blue, in case you want to look her up, but she would have been a really great design, the dress for this Dorothy. Okay, and you know, again, her outfit's very simple, and the dolls in this particular series, they do get better as the characters go on. Unfortunately, she's not my favorite, but she is cute, and I'm glad I have her. So that is the Lost as Dorothy. Okay, the next one. Now, this is an interesting one. This one is portrayed by the iconic character of Purdy. Now, Purdy, in her OG doll, she has an exposed brain. And so she seems like an ideal choice to be the Scarecrow. However, unlike the Lost as Dorothy, you can't even tell it is Purdy unless you take off the mask. I'm not going to do it with this version. I'll do it with the variant because when I bought this core set, or I should say my husband bought this core set, I've never touched the burlap mask. It's always been still kept together with that twine-like material. So I do not want to move it. But she comes so cutely dressed. They did a really good job making it look like it's a Scarecrow. And in case you do buy this doll, there is a little bit of holes in it to make it look like it's worn. You know, so don't, if you buy it new, you know, it will have that. That's part of the design. Really cute. And the straw is not in the clothing. It's like just little wristlets that are at the bottom of the jacket sleeves and on top of the boots. See the little elastic there. And just it's a really well designed doll. Again, you can't tell it's Purdy. So I was curious why they didn't use another Scarecrow character, which they already had in this character of Isaac from Series 6. And perhaps maybe they didn't want to seem like they were lazy and, you know, just reusing a body. Isaac's body is very unique. They've never used it again. And I can see why it probably wouldn't look right with the other dolls. But again, they had a perfectly good Scarecrow doll. And you wouldn't question if it's Isaac because you know Isaac, if you have him in your collection, you know he is a Scarecrow. So there's no doubt that what he is, and you don't have to worry about him looking like the character. But I just thought Isaac would have been just as good of a choice. I don't want to say better because with Purdy and the Scarecrow missing a brain, you know, that you know, that does fit the Scarecrow's backstory. But just wanted to show you Isaac as a possible contender for the Scarecrow. Okay, and that is Purdy as the Scarecrow. Okay. Now, the next one, hands down, is my favorite design of all the Oz dolls. And that is the Bride of Valentine as the Tin Man. Now, you wouldn't know this is the Bride of Valentine. There really is no way to tell it's the Bride of Valentine. She doesn't appear feminine, so, you know, she doesn't have like the long hair. It's cut like a boy. And what's amazing about this doll is the way they made her coat look like metal. Like, look at that. It's reflective. It's very soft. I believe... I feel like it's a mixture between like a plastic and pleather. And unlike the Queen of Hearts dress or any other of the dolls that have the pleather that's prone to peeling, I don't see this peeling as much. And she has these silvery pants. Now, an interesting thing about the Tin Man design is that there's these little splotches of brown. It's very faint, but if you notice her axe, it's very bloody. If you know the story of the original Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man's name was Nick Chopper. Yeah, not the most creative name. And Nick Chopper's axe was enchanted by a witch. And, well, I'm sorry, it was... I believe the Wicked Witch did enchant the axe because he was in love with a servant girl of hers, and bit by bit he cut off his limbs, and that's why the axe is really bloody. And the Bride of Valentine, as the Tin Man, she has like red blood streaming down her face, and look at these screws in her eyes. Oh my god. And they actually feel like real metal screws. Like, this does not feel like plastic. And it's just amazing. And she is my favorite of the four, of the whole Oz execution. I just felt like they were more creative with this character than they were with the others, you know. And she comes with the axe. Now, the axe, there is a peg hole in the hand, and Living Dead dolls, with their accessories, they're notorious for not fitting in the hand that they made the peg to fit into. It's always a hit or miss, and in this instance, it was a miss. It does not fit in the hole at all, which is very disappointing. So I have it bound by a plastic tie to hold the axe in place, and it does a pretty good job. So yeah, she's just a fabulous execution of the theme. The outfit opens, and she has this glittery bodysuit. Well, actually silvery bodysuit, and just velcros over, and it even has detailing. Like, if you look really close, it looks like buttons of sorts. They really did a great job with her design. And like I said, she's the best one of the entire series, in my opinion. So that is Bride of Valentine as Tin Man. Okay. The next one's another one that, kind of lazy. But I guess what more could you do with the Cowardly Lion? And he's portrayed by the doll Teddy. And he's from series, I want to say 24, which is the Tea Party set. So that character, as you can see, is in a teddy bear costume. So again, this could have been anybody in the Living Dead Dolls roster. So they picked Teddy because he also was in a furry animal costume. So take that as you will. Like I said, he could literally have been any boy doll. that didn't have too much on his face. And I guess that's another thing too. We compared him to, say, like my favorite boy, Isaiah, who has like blood all over his face. I guess that wouldn't be ideal. So this particular lion, again, just like the scarecrow, they're meant to look like kind of worn, battle weary. So in this case, he's very dirty for some reason, and considering the Cowardly Lion, he doesn't look like he gets his fur dirty because he's a coward. So it's kind of weird that he's dirty. The mane is really cute. You have to fluff it up. It does come out a little flat in the box, so you just fluff it up. And, simple jumpsuit. He has these buttons, but they're just made for show. It's a Velcro suit. He has a cute little tail in the back. Again, nothing to him. I believe he's bald. Yes, he's a bald doll, so there's no hair under there. So it's plush too. The mane. It's yes, you have the hair, but it just feels like there's a little cushion in there. And he actually stands very well compared to most dolls that have the footy pajama type costumes. So he stands pretty well without a stand. Nothing special. His tail doesn't bend. It doesn't do anything. But he's just there. He has painted details to look like a lion. He doesn't look like a mean lion. He's just there. But, again, there's not much you can do. And that's another thing, too, with Wonderland. They've had so many interpretations. They've had a lot of representation in media. You had the Tim Burton movie in 2010. You had, of course, the classic Disney animated film, which the Cheshire Cat was not like a direct rip-off of it, but the color, the purple, that's the purple Cheshire Cat. And, of course, you have American McGee, and that imagery of Alice with the bloody dress. So they had other sources to pull from to design those dolls. Whereas the Wizard of Oz, they don't. There hasn't been many adaptations that have been popular, with the exception of Wicked, the musical. It's pretty much the book they relied on. So I feel like that's why the dolls themselves, with the exception of Bride of Valentine, of course, are a bit lackluster. But they are made well with their clothes. So I'm going to go into the witch next. If I could just put them over here. Hopefully I could pull her down without knocking everyone down. Okay, there we go. And here is the witch. Now, the interesting thing about the witch from the MGM film, supposedly the look of that witch, the green skin, is copyright. Walpurgis, that's who is playing the Wicked Witch. Has a faint green, so it's a particular green that witch is. So Mezco, Living Dead Dolls are not infringing on that copyright because she's a different type of green. This Walpurgis, along with a variant, they glow in the dark. And here's a picture of that. And I believe it's the entire body. And the reason why I say I believe is because she has pants. I guess it gets, well, not pants, like very thick black tights. I guess it gets cold in Oz. So she has tights. And you can actually see her body through the lace detail on her sleeves. So all this glows in the dark. Her hands, her arms, the face. Really cool. She has this witch's hat that doesn't really stay on her head well. I mean, it does, but it just doesn't cinch on her head. So it kind of just like lays there. And the only thing that's keeping it there is the elastic that, again, like many Living Dead dolls with elastic accessories, is giving out. So it's very stretched out. Even though I've never took the hat on and off, it just that's just how the dolls eventually turn in terms of their accessories. And she's really cool. And like Bride of Valentine and Purdy, it's hard to see that it's Walpurgis, except for, which is something I forgot to talk about when I mentioned Walpurgis, and this is why I wanted to talk about Walpurgis and Dr. Deadwin in that other video I had. She has like this little hint of veining here, and that's one tell sign of Walpurgis. And of course her eyes are a bit the same, except for like the pupils, but like the outer, like the eyelash details, like that's Walpurgis. And she was part of the core set. And, you know, again, not much to her. It's cool that she glows in the dark, so that's a real cool effect. And really good, too. It's a strong glow-in-the-dark paint. But, again, not much to her. And that's Walpurgis. Now, all these dolls were available in stores, like, again, just like the Wonderland dolls in Hot Topic, FYE. I'm not sure in terms of the production run. I tried looking that information up. I couldn't find anything about the production run, so who knows? But when my husband first bought this set, now he bought Purdy, Dorothy, the Witch, the Tin Man, and the Lion for close to practically retail. And he got it all in one set, new in box. An amazing deal. And you could find the Oz dolls, unlike the Wonderland dolls, for significantly cheaper. You definitely could definitely find various listings that would different prices. I wouldn't pay, you know, like again, the Wonderland, they go for a little bit more because the Wizard of Oz is not as popular as Alice in Wonderland. You know, again, outside the whole Wicked, but when you have anything Alice in Wonderland related, it always sells out no matter what. And so I don't think the Wizard of Oz Living Dead doll set had that success. So I think you can find them for a pretty reasonable price. Heck, it's even cheaper if you just look for a whole lot of them instead of buying them individually. Just FYI, you know, just a tip. Trying to find these dolls. So, that being said, they did have a variant set led by the Chase doll, which is the Wizard, played by Dr. Deadwin. Now, I'm not going to take off his goggles because if you see right here, it's held by a thin plastic rubber band, which eventually, as every Living Dead doll, disintegrates. So I don't want to touch it. And also, like every Living Dead doll, the elastic accessory is giving out. So it's perfect on his face. I'm not going to touch it. Like I said, you can look at my video of Dr. Deadwin and Walpurgis. That's why I did that video not too long ago, so you can have a reference point. His outfit is amazing. It's very accurate to the turn of the century when the original book came out. I believe it was 1901. And just look how stylish he looks. He definitely is a man of his time. It's separate pieces. He has a shirt, pants, this cool vest. He has a little bow tie here. He actually has long sleeves underneath this lab coat. Even the pants are, like I said, very period accurate. Look at these socks. Look at these stylish socks he has. Just really cool. And the funny thing about his hair, it reminds me of a brush that you use for your shoe, or shaving, like a shaving brush. Now, he was a Chase doll that came with the Emerald City variant set right there behind him. And what you see in his hands are the gifts he gives to Dorothy's friends. So the brain is for the Scarecrow. The heart is the Bride of Valentine. And so in the book, the wizard, the gifts he gives Dorothy's friends are a little different than the movie. So in the book, he gives the Scarecrow like a brand mix, and he pours that into his head, and he gives him a diploma very similar to the movie. The lion received a medal for courage, but in the book, he receives like this drink of courage, and it's a placebo, or, you know, it was okay back then. It could have been a little bit of gin or an alcohol of that time. And for the Living Dead Dolls set, he comes with these little brass balls, which is hilarious. So that's what he's given as to symbolize courage, you know, cojones, as I can delicately say. And they're in this drawstring pouch, which I keep in the pouch so you don't lose it. But it's hilarious. Purdy's brain actually fits into her head, and I'll show that in a moment. So the way the wizard is holding his accessories, so in this case, the heart actually fits into his pegged whole hand, and the brain, I have it wrapped with the clear goody rubber bands for him to hold. And he's just really cool. He's my second favorite doll of the series. He's just done so well. My husband bought him separately for me as a Christmas gift years ago. So on the secondary market, he can run you about maybe $150 or more because he is a chase doll. And speaking of the chase dolls, the variant set, which I'll go into right now. Now the variant set, like I said earlier, their box is pretty much the same as the core set and the glow-in-the-dark set, which I do not own, and I'll explain after I go over the variant set. So the variant set, as you can see, they all are green. Now in the book, Emerald City was not in green like it's depicted in the MGM film, but the glasses the citizens wear is what makes everything look green. And that's something the wizard mandated, which I thought was very clever as a variant set that Mezco did. And it just made it significantly different and unique. And again, it's book accurate. That's what happens in the book. So Dorothy, because of that, she also has Toto in green. Same design, but it's green. Poor Toto. But her shoes, for some reason, they're not green, which I thought was kind of odd, but probably because that's the magic. You know, maybe the wizard's trickery doesn't penetrate actual magic, which in the story he's a phony. So the silver shoes are still the silver shoes. The glasses are on by this, I think it's a plastic band, and they are well on the dolls. I think hers is like into her hair. So I'm not going to mess with the eyes. I mean, the glasses to show you the eyes. Just assume it looks like, you know, the dolls. With the exception, I believe, of the witch. Yeah, the witch, her eyes are different under her glasses. Okay. So here's Purdy in the green variant. So I will show you what Purdy looks like underneath this one, because so I ordered this set together. Again, it was a great deal for the set. It came to me overseas, so I got it from Japan, of all places. And Purdy's burlap mask wasn't too tightly secured. So here she is without the mask, and the brain goes inside her head, just like her OG doll. And her outfit is pretty much the same, except she seems to be missing the straw. Oh, wait. Ignore what I just said. I forgot. It's a part of the burlap. Forget it. Anyway, but she's pretty much the same. Now, unfortunately, and this is a common thing that happens in Living Dead dolls, their arms come out of the socket very easily. And just as easy as it comes out, it's easy to pop back in. Unfortunately, I can't fix Purdy because it's hard to get the coat back over the arm without breaking it again out of the socket. So I'm just going to leave her as is, but, you know, doesn't change anything. But, you know, she's pretty much the same as this Purdy, except the eyes are different. She has green eyes, and I believe the Purdy, when I first saw her without the burlap, I think she has like just black lines for the eyes. This part is like black or brown, but that's Purdy with the green. And then you have the Bride of Valentine as Tin Man again. Now, what's interesting is the same splotches that were on the other Tin Man. You actually can see them much clearer. So it looks a little bit more like rust or definitely blood. But it looks like someone like had blood and went like this and wiped it on the poor girl's outfit. But it's exactly the same style. You know, it's supposed to have that. So if you buy her, that's part of the look. So don't be alarmed. So I didn't have a chance to rubber band the axe, but here's the axe up close. Okay, and again, the peg detail, it just doesn't fit in the hole like it's supposed to. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Now, her pants, or her bodysuit, is this really pretty dark green. See, this sparkles a little bit. If you can see it on camera, really cool, really cool. And like I said, beautiful design. The eyes are the same, the little nails in the eyes. Really cute. Okay, and last, well, actually, I have one more, the witch. So here's the lion. And again, same thing, same suit. It's dirty. Again, if you buy this, it's supposed to look like that. It's nothing wrong with the doll. Now, I didn't get a chance to fluff up his hair like the regular version. So the regular version has had time out of the box, so I was able to fluff up his hair. Really nice. I'm assuming no, actually, the eyes, I think, are green. His eyes. Again, I'm not going to take off the glasses because I fear I'm not going to be able to get them to stay again. Oh, and that's another thing. Purdy does not come with the glasses. Instead, she comes with green buttons. So that's something I had to look over and over just to make sure. I could have sworn she came with glasses, but she didn't. Now, with the variant set, unlike the original run, and Alice, I didn't know either. Josh, aka Doggy Pants, when he reviewed them several years ago, he mentioned that Mezco released about 1,000 of the variant set, and that's half of them, or most of them, went overseas. So in America, we're talking maybe 450 to 500 were here in America, and the rest were released overseas. And what he means by overseas is that there's other online retailers overseas that distribute the dolls, like in Europe and in Asia. So they've been split among there. So the Wizard, with that being said, the Wizard's part of the Chase set. That's the only way you can get him at the time. But now people sell the Wizard on its own. So if you don't want the green set, which originally I didn't want the green set, I changed my mind. As I always do with Living Dead dolls, I always change my mind. But if you just want the wizard, he's very easy to find just by himself. If you want the variant and with the wizard, then just get them all together. It's just easier. But you can get him by himself, but just look to pay a pretty penny. Now, I bought my variant set from Japan, as I said, for like $200. That was, and plus shipping, which wasn't terrible at all. And again, still cheaper than one of those Alice in Wonderland variant dolls. Just putting that in perspective. So in front of you is the witch. Now, she and the original pretty much look the same, except for the dress. They both glow in the dark, which brings me to why I don't have the glow in the dark set, which is one of 50. Now, there's a bit of a controversy because the glow in the dark set comes with all of them and the witch, but the witch in the glow in the dark set is exactly the same one you have in front of you, which is kind of a ripoff that they did that. I think maybe they should have made the wizard part of that glow in the dark set, like make a glow in the dark wizard instead of another witch that's pretty much the same one. So that's a little bit of a cash grab snafu for me, in my opinion. So that's why I didn't get the glow in the dark. And it's not necessary. You know, unlike the green set, the green actually contributes to the story and what happened in the story. Unfortunately, my Walpurgis, I was not aware she's missing her hat, and I didn't find out until I received her. And it was too late to message the seller because it was through Mercari, and Mercari, once you receive the item, if you don't review and reach out in like 3 days, they, automatically have the sale as final. So I was never able to get an answer about my missing hat. So she doesn't have a hat. I guess I can admire her green hair without her hat. So that's Walpurgis. Well, that's Walpurgis and company as the green variant set. So lastly, and I'm not going to go into that much more detail because I already talked about them extensively in my mini video. Highly recommend watching that. You have the flying monkeys, something I thought Mezco seemed to have listened. Maybe there was feedback on the Wonderland series. Missed opportunity with the minis, with the exception of the little Sadie mini. They could have made the Queen's Knaves as, a mini set. So I'm glad they did it with the flying monkeys, which are adorable. They along with the Munchkins, right here, again, I also talked about them. They were available through Entertainment on Earth, but also Big Bad had them. So if you ever purchase them, you may receive a box of the packaging without the Entertainment on Earth sticker. But that is the Munchkins and the Flying Monkeys. So that is all the dolls in my Lost in Oz collection. Just a couple of factoids or things I was trying to research for. So when the Alice in Wonderland dolls were released, they released in the same year as the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland film. So I tried looking up any Oz-related releases. And the only thing that comes close is there was an NBC series called Emerald City. But Emerald City didn't debut until 2017. The Oz series debuted in January 2016. The variant set was in, I want to say February, just like a month later. And then the glow in the dark was like in the spring, like March and April. So I really don't know what in conjunction Mezco was going for in terms of tie-in, but I guess they did Wonderland, so they might as well do Oz. I'm here for it. I love the set. So, again, that's it. I highly suggest do your research. And like I said, in comparison to the Wonderland series, they are much cheaper and easier to come by than the Wonderland set. Especially when you compare the variants. completely different price point. Like the Sadie variant could run you at least $200 on her own, and so does the other dolls. Whereas the variant sets, again, like I said, I got all mine with the exception of the Wizard because I got them separate. They were like $200 together plus shipping. So again, do your research. Definitely seek out the different prices. And again, depending on what you want, if you just want the Wizard, you can find him on his own, but it will cost you about $150 or more to get him on his own. So, and that's it. And looking forward to Wicked. Hope you are too. And as always, happy hunting.